Hi there. Thank you so much for listening to Grounded in Maine today. My name is Amy, and I have a new friend from New England today. So this is Austin French. He's actually not from New England, but he is in New England. He's in Maine, actually. So Austin, thank you so much for being here. I'm excited to learn more about why you do what you do because you are a podcaster, but you also work in outdoor recreation. So thank you so much. I please tell us more about how you got to where you are, and I'm going to let you talk now.
Totally. Yeah. Thank you for having me on the podcast. It's always fun as a podcaster to like jump on other people's podcasts and just have conversations with people that have conversations for a living, right? So, it's you know we get to the point now where I work at the University of Maine at Farmington. I'm the director of career and employer engagement here, but I also teach in our outdoor rec business administration program. And like you hinted at, about a little under a year ago, decided that I wanted to start my own podcast, really focused on Maine's outdoor recreation economy. Right, it's an incredible force to be reckoned with. Like I'll say it that way. That we just got the new numbers. It's like a $3.9 billion industry in Maine, and so being able to just like help tell those stories because I know, like, as a kid who grew up in New Jersey, right, there was no reason that I should have ended up in the outdoor rec space in the first place. But
Right?
I was really fortunate that, I had a family who prioritized getting outside. And so I got very acclimated to that lifestyle as a child. And then, through a whole series of different things that I'm sure we can dive into, it was really looking at, okay, there are some career opportunities that I could really pursue in this space, and so for me it was, when I was 15, I watched the movie Aspen Extreme, which for anybody who hasn't seen that movie, strongly recommend it. It is the cheesiest 90s ski movie, right? Um, and these two guys, TJ and Dexter, decide that they're going to move from this small little ski area in Michigan and they're going to move out to Colorado and try to live the ski bum life, right? And um, one thing led to another. They land in Aspen, and TJ becomes like the poster child of the ski school there. And as like a super cocky 15-year-old, I was like, I think I could do that. And so the next year, tried out for the ski school at my local ski area in Northeast Pennsylvania, Blue Mountain, and the rest was kind of history, right? Like once I started working in the industry and realized how much I could take a really strong passion of mine and bring that to others, right? Like that's it's one of the most rewarding things that you can do, right? And so catapulted that into all kinds of other things to kind of get us to where we are now. But that's where it all started.
That's really fun. I mean, so you watched a cheesy movie and you're like, that's what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Life goals.
Yeah, 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 totally.
Wow. I mean, I'm sure in like uh, the movie business, people are like, yeah, I want to act, I want to do that. But like, I want to do like the whole ski thing and outdoor. I mean, how long are there a lot of jobs in outdoor recreation that you know of?
But yeah, yeah. So in addition to that $3.9 billion number, we also have there's just in the state of Maine alone, there's over 32,000 people
What?
employed in. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Are they all at the
So
ski slopes?
no, no. One of the coolest parts, like when we look at the outdoor industry in Maine, we're super fortunate that we have this really incredible balance of both the more traditional like experience providers of like the resorts and all of the various companies along the coast that are like helping facilitate these great things. And obviously we have the main guide process, so we have a lot of guides who choose their various disciplines to help facilitate those experiences for guests. But we also have the product makers, right? Like whether that's the LL Beans of the world or the Old
Right.
Town Canoes or the Hyperlight gear, right? Like all of those places call Maine home, and so you get this really amazing collection of potential career opportunities within this space.
Hmm.
You know, like I mean, we talk all the time. It's like the quintessential Maine experience is going out and experiencing a Maine place, using a Maine product with a Maine guide, right? Like
True story.
that is the full holy grail. Like, let's pull it all together, you know?
Right. Well, and that's where LL Bean comes in, really, because they do outdoor school stuff, and so you have I think they have Maine guides that offer like sightseeing stuff like that. I think I read that there are only 4 states in the country that have a guide service. Does that?
Yeah, it's something like that. I should remember this because we talked about this many podcast episodes ago. But yeah, it's a very small number. It is definitely less than 10. I'll put it that way. And it's been really interesting as I've gotten more and more connected with various folks across the country that work in the outdoor rec space, and especially on the workforce development side, like now with me at the university. Maine is so fortunate that we do have that guide process, because it offers a very clear standard for like who is bringing folks out into these various outdoor environments, right? When you think about some of the more specific disciplines within it, right? Like you have the standard recreation guide that you would think of for like hiking, backpacking, camping, like those types of things. But then when you look at, whether it's the hunting or fishing side, or the whitewater rafting side, or the sea kayaking world, right? Like there are a lot of variables, right, that we have to be thinking about if we're going to facilitate those kinds of experiences. And I appreciate the fact that I live in a state now where like that's having that standard as a priority, because we're vacation land, right? There's so many people that not only live here but come here to have that amazing experience and get to see everything that Maine has to offer. And so there's a responsibility there on the guide side to make sure that we're keeping people safe, giving them a great experience, and hopefully encouraging them to come back and do it all over again with us.
Yeah, you did an episode with a Maine guide or about Maine guides. What exactly do they do? Are they like historians? Do they know about the places? Are they sightseeing? What?
Yeah, so
I've known guides, but I've never actually said, what do you do?
I wish my co-host was here. She is actually a registered Maine guide, both
There she
recreation
is.
and sea kayaking. She's awesome, Sam Andrews. So there's a lot that goes into that whole process, right? Like from plant and animal species identification to traditional map and compass skills. Like if you're lost in the woods, can you actually get yourself home?
Is it a licensure? Licensure?
Yeah.
It is.
Yep. Yeah. And then other things like just like risk management when you're in those environments, like being able to understand weather patterns and all kinds of different things. Like I would be doing a disservice if I really tried to dive into it, because I have not gone through that path myself. But there's a lot involved.
Okay. It's really interesting that that there aren't more states that offer that. I think that maybe because Maine is vacation land, that, if people are coming to experience the outdoors, they should have someone to teach you how to do that. And do you, from working with Sam or talking with Sam, how do you find them? Is there like a database or
to go with? So it kind of depends on what region of the state you're looking to go to, and like what types of experiences you're looking to get at. Like a lot of it can be looking at various regions, sort of if there's destination marketing, sort of like tourism plan stuff. You'll have some guides involved in there. Sometimes it's literally just like traditional website SEO and some social media stuff. It's kind of wild, right? Yes, there's like some very structured ways that all of that kind of gets looked at, but then others is just like, I'm going to Camden, right? And I want to go climbing. I'm going to stumble on Noah from Equinox Guiding Service, who I know you've had on the podcast. But like there's not necessarily a clear place. Where I would say is probably the most comprehensive list would be something Maine Outdoor Brands. So that's sort of like our outdoor business alliance, for lack of a better term. And so that's there's over 200 member brands that are part of that. A number of those are various guiding services across the state. So that's probably, at least in my knowledge, the most holistic version. But that's also only the members that have made the decision to be part of Maine Outdoor Brands, right? So there's plenty of one-off, solo entrepreneur guides that are in all different places, So yeah, so it's a sprinkle of everything, and yet plenty of them just seem to have a lot of work a lot of the time of the year that they want to be doing it,
Yeah.
So.
I mean, it seems like a really it must be like a really intense studying thing. I'm asking you things that you're like, oh, maybe you should talk to Sam. You should talk to Sam, Amy. But like the main guide seems like a really comprehensive, like they know a little bit about a lot of things, or a lot about a lot of things. There's a lot to study, and there's a lot to know. I mean, if you were going to Farmington area, you'd be talking to someone about downhill skiing, I assume, or like the Moosehead Lake, Rangeley Lake,
Rangeley Lake. Yeah, yep.
My geography is really bad, you guys. I'm only from there. But I've only been to Rangeley once. But so, everyone has their own sort of specialty, but I'm just curious, and I mean, I can just research this and put it in show notes or something like that. But like, I wouldn't know where to find one, I guess. If you don't know that a state has a guide, how do you know where to look for them? But anyway, tell me about the podcast. So you host the More Than Outdoors podcast, and you said you started last August.
So first episode dropped last August. Yep. So we just filmed episode 25 yesterday, so that'll come out end of this month. But yeah, so episodes come out bi-weekly, and we really try to just like spread across the entire, not just the industry, but also like geographically, right? Because there's so many different stories to tell in so many different places. We film all of the episodes outside, so like also trying to get some of that like flavor of, if we went over to Quarry Road most recently for one of our episodes, and met with the director over there, Jeff Tucker, and got to film right on site outside, hanging out, beautiful winter day, and just had a great conversation about Quarry Road, all like the trail network that's there, the cross country skiing that happens, the rope tow that they have, right? And they're this really interesting. They're technically a municipal operation, right? Like the city of Waterville operates them, and then there's a nonprofit that's also tied to them, just to kind of help around like volunteerism and like all those like fundraising and all those kinds of things. So it's a really unique model, in addition to like having this amazing trail network that's 5 minutes from one of the larger cities that's in the state of Maine,
Yeah.
So.
Okay. And so, More Than Outdoors, this is exploring the geography of Maine and what's available and what's fun to do, stuff like that. I know the last episode that I listened to, there was a lot of talk about like certifications, but so you're highlighting all the things that are available to do in Maine. I say just again. I don't know why I keep doing that. But so you're talking about all the great things that are available outdoors in Maine, because Maine is vacation land. That's the nickname. And, so I'm curious, like how you decided to do More Than Outdoors. I mean, obviously that's what you're doing for work also a little bit. And then you met Sam and you were like, let's do something fun.
Yeah. So this kind of all came up because I went to UMF as an undergrad student, right? Graduated. That's actually another fabulous story about how I found out about UMF. We'll put a pin in that and come back to it later.
Okay.
So I went through the program, then came back on the staff side, and Sam I actually got connected with through an alum who I went to school with here, and Sam had like done a couple of different like community college and 4-year institution experiences, but had completed an associate's degree, had never actually finished her bachelor's degree. And so at UMF, we do like an adult degree completion program. So looking at like understanding courses that you've already taken at various institutions, looking at actual experience that you have, and building what we call credit for prior learning portfolios, right? So,
Awesome.
so I got connected with her. One of the things that she did still have to do as part of the program was the required internship that is built into our outdoor rec business admin program. And so we end up setting her up with an internship with the director of the Office of Outdoor Rec at the state level here, Jeff McCabe. And internship went really well. We were like, I think like this is a cool story to tell. Like there's some marketing behind this, like potential. And so we go and we do a shoot and we finish up all the interview content kind of stuff. And I don't even remember how it came up, but we start talking about podcasting and I was like, yeah, like I've always thought about doing a podcast, but just I always imagined myself like having a co-host and then bringing on guests. So it was like never really found that person that I wanted to do the podcast with. And just frankly, like there was plenty of time in my life where I was just like, I don't have the time to do this. And we kind of looked at each other and we were both like, oh, I think this is happening. And so within like less than 24 hours, we had like drafted up the first 3 outlines for the first episodes and all kinds of stuff. And so spent a lot of last summer kind of building up an initial bank of episodes just so that, because we knew summertime was probably when our schedules were like the least crazy. And then all of a sudden like have everything ramp up as fall and coming into winter. And so it's been a blast. Like just, I get to have conversations with people that I love talking to anyway, right? Like Em and I are super fortunate. We work in the industry. We're really connected with a whole number of amazing folks that make up the outdoor rec economy in Maine. And so just being able to have conversations that I would want to have with them anyway. And we do it in a podcast form so someone else can hear it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's actually really cool because of these conversations you're having and the experiences that you're having in testing things out or, exploring Maine. People can say, hey, Austin, like I'm, thinking about doing this. Have you been anywhere great? Where would you recommend? Like you're almost like a guide.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah, I think fortunately I get through the loophole that Sam is also a guide, so anything we talk about on the podcast gets covered that way. No, I'm just kidding. Well, but I think like she's also someone that has worked in the industry for her entire life too, right? Like
Totally, yeah.
Also started teaching skiing. She taught at Sunday River, but then got like super interested in the sea kayaking world, and so like went at it from that perspective. Went through the Maine guide process. Worked with a number of organizations down like in the Portland area for a while, between Portland Paddle, I think Ripple Effect, I think was another one. And then ended up with an organization called Teens to Trails, who is a nonprofit that works with local middle and high schools to try to like, increase access for youth, get them outside,
Oh my gosh,
get them to
yeah.
realize that this is something that is worth prioritizing and getting access to, and so yeah, it's we both get to come at it from really different angles, which I think is one of the cool parts that offers us a lot of balance in our conversations, right? Like I come at a lot of the conversations way more from I love the outdoors, both because yes, I love doing all the activities that make up what I love to do outside, but also like I've seen so much benefit from the workforce development side of that and seeing my career grow into what it's become and now being at the university and working with folks who are now trying to figure out what their sort of like early career trajectory looks like in the industry. Where for Sam, it always comes back to the access component of like how do we maximize the number of people we get outside, while also embracing the physical, mental, emotional well-being benefits that come with getting outside and being in nature and all those things. So it's cool because we get to have a lot of really interesting conversations, and I think it's one of the biggest pieces, like when I was talking earlier, of I kind of always envision the podcast being me and someone else. So that way, if we have a guest where I don't necessarily feel like I have quite as much to offer in the topic, right?
Right.
Like I get to play a lot more facilitator, moderator, and just kind of like roll
Let
with the
Sam go.
punches in terms of like how Sam and and vice versa, so yeah, it's a lot of
Yeah, you
fun.
guys can tag team where you're more comfortable. That's really cool. And then between the two of you, you can pretty much handle anything. That's great. And I think that, you had touched on briefly that, there's an aspect of getting outside and the health aspect, the health angle of it. I think that it's such an important topic right now. With the healthcare is so wonky right now, and people are not at our healthiest. So encouraging people to do things outside and finding really fun things for them to do. It's one thing if you're like, just go outside, and you're like, okay, I'm outside. Can I have my phone now or something, something like that? But no, how about this? Do you like the water? Do you like skiing? Do you want to go hiking? Do you like berry picking? Or, there are so many things to do outside, and it's not even, it's physical, but it's also mental. And, there's just so much to it. And I love that you guys are doing that. So what was with the podcast, like, you said 25, you just recorded 25 yesterday, episode 25?
Yeah.
What has been your favorite place to do something outside so far in Maine? Or your favorite episode? I could say that, and then
yeah. I have so I'll say it this way. The most natural conversation that we have had, right, which tells me that like the sort of end user experience is going to be incredible, was we did an episode with two gentlemen. Okay. So episode was with Gabe Perkins, who's from Inland Woods and Trails, based out of like the Bethel, Rumford area, and then Todd Papineau, who is a physical education teacher at Mountain Valley High School over in the Rumford area. And we filmed the episode like out in this trail network that's behind the high school, literally set up all of our chairs on this like mountain biking bridge. So beautiful, beautiful scenery. But it was such a natural conversation about like talking through how trail networks are these massive community assets, and understanding like the real value that they bring, not only economically, but like when you have this trail infrastructure that is winding through your community, what that means for like getting that person who maybe wouldn't have seen themselves in the outdoors, giving them that like easy outlet to really be able to like dive in and see that it is for them, and that it's again, access all of the incredible health benefits that come from being able to be active in the outdoors and all that kind of stuff. So I would say that one, like the two of them have more personality than like any duo that I would ever put together, right? And so being able to have all four of us talking through that topic was a lot of fun.
yeah. Oh gosh. Well, and you must have been able to tackle like everything, between four of you, and as a PE teacher, like it has to be like just super passionate, especially when kids these days are the video games and the phone attachment and stuff like that. Like, oh man. Okay.
Well, and I think, well, with that though, right, one of the things that Todd brought up a number of times throughout the episode was he was like, look, I use technology to my advantage, right? Like whether that's like using the Strava app. So there's like a whole series of different apps that folks use, especially for like when they're doing mountain biking or anything like that. And so he's like, it's a great tool for me because they get to start to feel the like, oh, make sure that this mountain bike ride gets tracked in Strava, and like,
right.
the leaderboard starts like playing into the whole thing, right? So like, there's a gamification to that like
Sure.
you can, if you have someone who is already attached to the tool, it allows them to use the tool to encourage them to go outside as compared to sit on the couch and scroll TikTok until
I mean, I have the plant identification app and also the Merlin bird app. And I don't know, do you have the Merlin bird app? Like, If
I don't, but it was another one of the things that
oh,
came up in the that came up in
yeah.
the discussion.
Because they totally gamify it. They're like, see if you can find the bird of the day, and if you do, if they identify the bird of the day, there's this like woohoo, like they highlight it, and I've totally posted it on Instagram a few times. Like I got the bird of the day. It's I'm in my 50s, and this is what excites me. But it's also really cool when it's especially if you can hear it when it's being identified, and then and there's something for everyone. I think that's really cool, and I love that idea of like using it for to your advantage. That's really cool, and it's really smart of them to gamify it, like with with Strava, like if you want to compete with your friends, or just track how far you're going and stuff like that. And then with the bird one, gamify it and see if you can find the bird of the day, that type of thing. And I'm always like, oh my gosh, I just identified not me, but the app identified 18 birds in a 10-minute period. Like that's so cool. It's fun to do stuff outside. It really is.
Yeah. Well, and like, look, I'm not a doctor. I'm not even going to remotely pretend to know all of the behind the scenes reasons for like why being outside is so beneficial for your health, right? But I dare you, like, go outside and walk in the woods for a little bit and come back and tell me that you don't feel better. Like it's just there's something so innate about it that like you know no matter how
The
brutal of a
natural
day that I have
light,
at
the
work.
fresh air,
Yeah.
the leaves crunching under your feet. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like no matter how brutal the day I have at work, um, there's nothing that just like a walk on a trail doesn't fix, you know?
It's
So
awesome. And you were saying that we were going to come back to UMF.
yeah. So I mean, I think this kind of connects to the whole like, looking at careers in the industry and like, because a huge part of my job is like developing career pathways, right? Like how can we help students identify there is an actual avenue for me to travel down here, right? Because awareness is the first step to proficiency, right? And so I will always have this story in my back pocket because a lot of the times when I'm having conversations with students and they're trying to figure out like, okay, how do I end up in X position with Y organization, like how do I get there?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, some of it is super structured and like you might meet them at a hiring event, right? But I think back to like so much of my life changed because of an event that happened when I was a sophomore in high school, and there was nothing that should have kept like there's nothing that would have told me that that moment was going to happen, right? So my family, we go on a ski trip every year in February, and so we head to New Hampshire, Franconia Notch area, and we have some timeshares there. And so when I was 16, I just started teaching skiing at Blue Mountain, and so we go up for that trip, and we go out for dinner the first night, and we're coming back. And now, for anybody who's listening to this podcast and knows Franconia Notch, right? Like first week of February is like not exactly ideal weather-wise, right? Like it's
Right.
cold,
February
it's
people are
windy,
going
it's
to Florida
miserable,
generally. Yeah.
it's tough. Yeah, it's just it can get pretty burly. And so we were driving back from dinner that night, and we were just down the road from where we were staying, and there was this car broken down on the side of the road. And so my dad pulls over, and now it's 0 degrees, blowing 40, right? Like miserable. And this woman had her entire house packed in her car. She was moving from Vermont to Maine, and she broke down halfway, right? And so fortunately,
In the
like my dad got the
mountains.
yeah, oh yeah, in the mountains. I doubt she had cell service where she was, like a lot of variables. And my dad fortunately like got the car started and was just like follow us to where we're staying, we'll figure it out from there, kind of thing. And so so we get up there and we're all talking, and I had like a little quarter zip from the mountain that I was teaching at, and I was wearing it. And so me teaching skiing came up, and she was like, you wouldn't know it by looking at me, but I had some pretty hot legs back in the day, and I was a level 3 ski instructor, and I taught at Sunday River and Sugarloaf, and I went out to Vail in Colorado for 20 years, and I studied the ski industries program at the University of Maine Farmington. And so I was a 16-year-old from New Jersey, and I was like, "Whoa, what do you mean? Like I can go to college for skiing?" This was not in my my portfolio of options that all of my guidance
Right?
counselors in New Jersey were telling me about.
Yeah.
And and so that was it. Like I was hooked. Like there was no like Stacy Geelan. I love and appreciate her till the day I die, right? Because that was a moment that there was no planning for that. It just happened, right? And yet it has created such a ripple effect in terms of my personal life, my career, like all of the things that have kind of culminated from there was because of that. And then had the opportunity to come up here and be part of the outdoor rec business admin program and get to see what it really looks like to not only continue to work in the outdoor industry, right? Because I could have done that without a college degree, right?
Right.
And that's something I say to my students all the time. But I was in that classroom to figure out how I was going to be a leader in that industry. And so, fortunately, because the Orba program requires an internship, worked my way through the certification process, and then the last semester that I was supposed to be at UMF, I moved out to Colorado, and I ran the seasonal programs for the ski school out at Copper, right? And so all of that was because of the fact that I ended up at Copper with one connection, right? It was a
That
guy
lady
who
was
came.
broken down on the side of the road.
Well, so that, right? And then we had a guest speaker come into one of my classes my first year who was at UMF at the same time. And so I said the name and he immediately knew who it was, right? And so it like turned into this cool just connection thing, but I never thought of it in terms of like going long term and being out in Colorado. But then a lot of stars aligned and some certifications were in play, and so I was eligible to apply for the job out there. Uh, yeah, it's just
That is so cool.
a lot of weird random things, but if you just listen to them and put your head down and follow them, you can have some really cool stuff happen.
Yeah, I think that's so cool. I mean, there are so many sort of alternative paths that we don't always know about unless we hear someone talk about them. Like you running into that lady who was like, "Yeah, I went and I learned all about outdoor recreation stuff like that," and you're like, "Wait, that's an option." That is so cool. And so we need to talk about stuff like that more. I mean, outdoors and other alternative work things.
There's a lot. There's a lot of career pathways, right? Like there's so many options, and especially now, right? Like, I mean, you think about just all of the organizations that you encounter on a day-to-day basis, right? Everybody is constantly trying to figure out what their niche is, right? And so that allows you to really start to look at like, okay, depending on how narrow I want to make my niche, right? That's all part of the filtering process. That's going to tell me who I am trying to track down as an employer, right? And then understanding like what are the skills that they're going to need and how can I build them in myself, and on and on and on.
Right.
But that awareness piece is so key because I mean we see it a ton here at UMF, right? I mean we're I think the most recent numbers we're somewhere in the neighborhood of 50% first generation student, right? So if you
Yeah.
have a whole block of our student population who if you don't have someone telling and showing you that all of these pathways are options, right? Well, of course
Exactly.
you're not going to pursue them, right?
Right.
Because you're as a young, impressionable, young adult,
Right.
um, you're trying to absorb all of this information that the world is throwing at you and telling you,
Yeah.
oh, you should go in this direction, you should go in that direction, right?
Yeah.
So that awareness piece is so crucial.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, I did not know that that was an option. I mean, I don't know that I would have done it anyway, but I love that we're all different and everyone has a different passion. And I think that we just, there's that whole, the conversation about like, find what makes you happy and make that work, or, and then you won't work a day in your life, or, something like that. But there's also just like, there are so many options, but when we're young, sometimes we're fed like this, medicine, law, business, or customer service. Like those are your options. And then, to find out things like this, like you can actually teach people what it's like to be outside and be a guide, or there are so many different options, and that's so cool that there are programs like this.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
so you learned about this program through that lady that broke down in the mountains.
Yeah. Yeah.
On a
and
vacation.
That was I was
just like
I was on vacation.
random run in the middle of winter. That's so cool.
Yeah, I say to everyone, right? There's no reason that I should have ended up at Farmington, but thank God I did, right?
Yeah.
Because if I if I if I hadn't gotten in for whatever reason, right? Like I probably would have just moved across the country to Colorado and probably just did that because that's the movie I watched.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, okay, that's a trajectory that I could probably follow, right?
Right.
And maybe it would have worked out and everything would have been fine, right? But I'm pretty happy with how my story has gone so far.
Yeah. I mean, look at you now. And so, we're recording this, well, April 1st, and you are just like 2 weeks away from your first baby being born. Like, and you met your wife in Pennsylvania, right?
Yep.
You met
Yeah.
her in
So we
Pennsylvania.
met teaching skiing. We were both instructors, right? Like, so again, just another thing that I'm so fortunate to say that the outdoors has given me basically everything in my life that I want to hold on to. You know what I mean?
That's pretty cool.
So yeah, but yeah, the baby's coming. It's a wild time. The phone is definitely face up as we're talking, just making sure that I'm not getting the emergency phone call that I got to start driving.
Oh my gosh.
But it's it's an amazing chapter that like we can't wait to start. And I mean I've said it for a long time. Like a huge sort of part of me understanding myself as a parent is saying a phrase that I know that my dad has said for a really long time. Right, like I'm raising my future ski buddy. That's what it is. And so however I need to do that, I will figure out a way.
Well, and with both parents being skiers, I'm sure that, and even if they're not big skiers, they'll do something outside for sure, because there are so many options. Really hit home how important it is to be outside for the listener, that there are so many different ways to be outside. There are so many different options for activities, and I mean you've highlighted a bunch of them, and just find your own way to be outside, even if you're just sitting at the bottom of a tree and reading a book or listening to a podcast, maybe the More Than Outdoors podcast or Grounded in Maine, just being outside and watching the birds, or taking a hike. There are just so many ways, and being outside gives you this feeling of like how much a part of everything we are. We're all just like entwined with nature. Like we are, I've had people say it many times, like we are nature, and you're getting back to where we belong. We don't, we're not supposed to be inside all the time.
Yeah, well, and like I make this comment, because similarly, right? I work at the university, right? Thought of very much so like traditional inside-y office job. But I make it a priority of like, how many times can I be like sitting at a picnic table that's somewhere on campus having the meeting with somebody that I have to talk to, right? Or just like, it can be something as simple as that, right?
Right.
There's a reason that like any hospital you go into, there's always sort of that center courtyard that miraculously just gives somebody some outside time, even though they can't necessarily go super far away, right? Like there's immense value in that. And one piece that we haven't even talked about But I think it's one of the biggest sort of pushbacks that I see and hear when I'm talking with folks of like trying to get more people outside. Is like they're like, okay, well, yeah, like I can go and I can take a walk on a trail, right? But for some of the other activities, like there's equipment required, right? And that equipment's expensive and it takes up a lot of space and
Yep.
all of those things. And one of the things that we are so fortunate to have here in the state of Maine, and hopefully it's a model that we can see go across the country, is this gear library network that we have, right? So there's a whole series of organizations across the state that offer opportunities to be able to rent this equipment for little to no cost, right? So like I'll use an example that I've used in the past. So Skowhegan Outdoors, which is a gear library right in downtown Skowhegan.
Wow.
Somerset County residents, it's like a library card. Like, so instead of getting books, you can get cross country skis or a canoe or whatever. And so being able to have, I think one of the coolest parts is living in a state that has decided that outdoor rec is a part of our it's part of our being, right? It's part of our like the Maine quilt, right? And so having so many organizations that see that priority and go, well, okay, there's different ways for us to attack this, and be able to get people right. Like I know we talked a little bit in our like preload conversation. I Nordic skied for the first time in my life, right? I've alpine skied every single year since I was 3 years old. Never once did I throw on a pair of Nordic skis, and ended up at a networking event where cross country skiing was like an activity we were doing. And so I was like, well, I don't have the gear. What am I going to do? Right. And so went over to Skowhegan Outdoors. They set me up with everything that I needed, and then went out and got to do the event. Right. But I was not doing that networking event if I didn't have access to the gear, because I probably was not buying a pair of Nordic skis and poles and boots, just to go out the one day.
Right. So you could have missed out on that community activity if you did not have that opportunity to borrow. That's really cool. And Skowhegan, my goodness. I mean, I guess I don't know. I'm not going to talk about my geography issues, but
all good.
But that's awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't know about that, although I do know that through my work there's a company called Gear Trade, I think it is, in Portland area, that we have access to, be able to borrow stuff, which is pretty cool. Yeah. And I'll be able to take advantage once I'm in Maine again.
Exactly. Well, so you're moving back to Maine. So Maine Gear Share is in the
that's what it
area.
Is.
Yeah. It's and Josh is actually, we've had him on the podcast to talk about Maine Gear Share and the Gear Library Network. So for any of your listeners that are curious, that's I think it's episode 4, if I'm remembering correctly. So way back in the time machine.
Way back.
But yeah, like super innovative model of just like, they have a membership that's kind of tied in, right? All of the gear libraries kind of have their own population that they serve at no cost, and then there's kind of like all of the other folks that if you want to get access, there's a small rental fee type thing. But it's so cool and innovative, and it allows us to tackle one of the largest challenges that we have in terms of getting people outside.
Right, that barrier to activities of not having the gear. I love that. And I did not know. So I'm really glad to know about that. I love the idea of a podcast, and I'm like, if you have any pull, I'm just saying, like, I would love to start a second podcast about music, but I want to have a co-host. And so if you have any pull in the world, because you said within 24 hours you had that all outlined, and you just happened to run into Sam, I'm struggling to find the right person. But I love I love your podcast topic. I love the conversations that you guys are having, and I think that it's really exciting that there are so many options. I really like I did not know that I mean, because I'm not a super like brave. I'm a chicken. I'm a chicken. I don't do all the things. I don't ski. I don't go in the ocean. I'm not into that type of thing. I do trail walk, and I walk, and I bird watch. But so I wasn't aware of all the opportunities. So I'm so grateful to have gotten to know you. And so Austin, we just connected last month, a couple weeks ago, randomly through Andy DeMeo of the Granite Goodness podcast, and he tagged the New England Podcasters group, and here we all are. Like, this is just, it's so fun. It's so fun to meet people who are in Maine. As you know, I am from Maine, of course, but just people that are doing really interesting things. And I love that you're highlighting my state, and you've just fallen in love with it. So I'm so happy about that. And I'm thrilled to get to meet you. Austin, let me start with, like, what does the word sustainability mean to you? I feel like this conversation is like all of it, because getting outside, taking advantage of what's easily, readily, naturally available to us. But, in your words, like, what would you say about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the really cool part about, especially when you're looking at the outdoor industry, right? Like, sustainability obviously has its very traditional, like, environmental context, right? Like, at the end of the day, if we do not care for our natural environments that we choose to recreate in, 50 years from now, like, my kid or my grandchild is not going to be able to recreate in the same way in that same place, right? So there's that sort of, like, responsibility component. But I think also it's the understanding that, like, we're all stewards of not just the environment but of each other. Like, I get to look at it from this really cool lens, like, because I still work in the ski industry, like, I still work up at Sugarloaf, and so I remember when I made the jump from being a ski instructor to getting into leadership in a ski school, you kind of look at, like, oh, okay, that's a pretty big jump in the butterfly effect. Like, if I worked in a seasonal program like I did in college, right, there was like 10 to 12 people that I could impact in a really huge way throughout a winter season. But now, like, seasonal program up at Sugarloaf, we have 425 kids. I have 60 coaches that work for me, right? And so the massive ripple effect that has on how those people are going to choose to live their lives, and prioritize having outdoor recreation as a part of that puzzle. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And that's just as much sustainability, because if we don't see the outdoors as a priority, well, of course, the next generation is not going to choose to want to do it, right? And so, and if we want to keep getting them access to all of the amazing things that come with it, well, we got to kind of lead the horse to water sometimes, and yeah. So I think it's just as much that piece, right? Of just how can you be, like, a welcoming, like, I get to come at it from the perspective of an educator, facilitator, right? So that's always the role I'm going to look at it from that lens, because my whole job is to try to figure out how can I get you to come and experience this sport of skiing in this example, right. And go, that was amazing. I want to come do it again. I want to do it here. Maybe I want to do it somewhere else, right? And be able to look at all of these amazing places that we have access to in a state like Maine from a totally different vantage point, right? Like, there is nothing like standing at the top of Sugarloaf and looking around the western Maine mountains and having that point of view.
Right. Yeah.
But you only get it if you either hike to the top in the summer, or load the lift in the winter.
I mean, I think, in Maine there are so many different, and I'm sure there are a lot in every state and every region, but, like, I know in Maine, you've got the Sugarloaf thing, which I've never experienced, but you go to Acadia and you have this vast ocean. And I remember, so one of I'm not a big camper, but I really enjoy the Lemoyne campground, the state campground, and there's like a water water's edge campsite area where you can look out and you're looking at Cadillac Mountain and the cars coming around the mountain like this glowing ribbon at night. It's gorgeous. And then, like Bailey Island, you've got the or Land's End, I should say, and the ocean waves crashing and stuff like that. And then you've got the desert of Maine, which is very random and weird, but also very cool history. And then, all the farmland. There's just so many options to get outside. And I'm so grateful that you're highlighting all this stuff, Austin, and Sam. So, please, Sam. Sam gets a lot of credit for this because you guys wouldn't do it without each other. But I love also that you pointed out, of course, you've got a child on the way, but like, if you're not taking care of the earth now, what happens to your ski buddy? If global warming gets to a point where the snow has to be made, is it going to be the same experience?
Yeah. And we make snow now, right? There's a drastic difference in the quality, right? Like, it's just reality. If it falls from the sky, it's a totally different thing. And obviously we're dealing with all kinds of things in that avenue of just like season length and how that impacts like those businesses being able to operate, right? Because you look at like a Sugarloaf or a Saddleback or a Sunday River, right? Those are the major economic drivers in the communities that they call home, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Sunday River, I think the number is like it employs something like 1,200 people in the wintertime. You know what I mean? And so there's a lot of people that rely on that thing to be successful. And so, yeah, we got to figure out how to best take care of our own backyard so that way we can continue to enjoy it and then be the stewards that can also help foster the people who are coming from away, right? Like, tourism is not scary, I swear to you, right? Like, and if we approach it in a really productive and insightful way, right? Like, it gives all of those folks a greater appreciation for what we have here, right? And you hope that then creates a level of impact in terms of how they choose to interact with that environment, right?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I'm writing. That's actually really cool to foster that appreciation. I think that's so important with fellow Mainers and with people from the outside. I know Maine's kind of getting a bad rep for like not wanting people around, but it also really depends on those people coming in. There's just if you want the tourism benefits, you gotta welcome the tourists. And then, okay, so how can people find you, learn more about what you're doing, follow the podcast, learn about, all that's available in Maine?
Yeah, totally. I will admit I'm definitely, because of my job here, most active on LinkedIn. So find me, Austin French, on LinkedIn. But way more importantly, like, follow the podcast, right? I firmly believe that there's a conversation in there for everybody. Hopefully we can, Sam and I can really just continue to do the work of helping tell all of these stories, right? And in long form content, right? I feel like that's the even bigger part. Like, it's one thing to see the super polished 2 to 3 minute video about insert business that comes from Y region of the state. But being able to have that, we aim to have every episode be somewhere around 40 to 45 minutes because that's how long my drive is to work every day, right? So I said that's the parameter we want to run off of. Now, some are longer, some are shorter, right? But whether it's Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, it's all More Than Outdoors podcast. Same with the streaming platforms, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. We're on there. And we try to be as active as we can be for the audience. And we also have some really cool stuff coming down the pipeline for this summer that I might like foreshadow a little bit and say you kind of got to be following to get access to some stuff. So so that's a piece too.
Mysterious. Okay, that's very exciting. All right, so More Than Outdoors podcast, you guys. Look Austin up on LinkedIn and find out what he's doing outside. Austin, I think this is such an important topic, and it keeps coming up over and over again about, taking care of the earth, obviously, so that we can appreciate it. And the fact that, and I think that we talked about this before, like even with Noah, like Noah brought this out for me, Noah Kleiner, he brought it out for me, that to find the awe, find the beauty in what's outside so that you appreciate it. And if you appreciate it, you're going to want to take care of it and keep it safe. So, and Austin is another one doing that. So grateful for you and Sam and all you guys are doing and teaching people. I can't thank you enough for this time, Austin.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having me. It's nice to think that all of this came from a LinkedIn post.
It's so fun. It's so fun how that all happens.
Yeah.
And I mean, New England podcasters, forget it. Like, just mention them and you're going to have like comment, because we're big supporters of each other. But more than outdoors podcast, y'all, and check out Austin and all he's doing outside. And get outside yourself.
Yes. Until next time, we'll see you outside, as we say on the More Than Outdoors podcast.